please rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll call to order this open session of the Town Council meeting and begin with approval of the minutes of November 4th.
Motion to approve the November 4th, 2021 Town Council meeting as written, unless anybody has any questions or comments on it.
Second.
Motion by Matarona, second by Moore. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. The next item of business is announcements. May I be among those who wish each of you a happy Thanksgiving. We will not have a council meeting next Thursday night, but I know where you'll all be. Second thing is, if you're here, you are not participating in the world premiere of Rooted in Tradition, which is a documentary about 21st century farming. It's going to end up on YouTube, and so I would strongly encourage that you get a look at that. It's interviews with current farmers and talking about the importance of farming to the community. And it's supposed to be available very soon on YouTube. Third, there's a vaccination clinic on Saturday, the 27th of November. If you register online, you can get initial shot, second shot, booster shot, all available. Any other announcements? The next item is the department head reports. First, that of the police department.
Motion to place the police department report for October on file, unless anybody has any questions or comments.
Second.
Motion made by Matarona,
Chief,
second by Golubeski. Any comments, Chief? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. And that of the finance director.
I'll make the same motion for the finance director.
I'll make the same second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item of business is old business 1, the Little Compton School Department's necessity of school construction, stage 2 presentation. Yes, sir. You have a packet or a handout of this presentation in your packet.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me back again. My name is Philip Conte with Studio Jade, and I would like to quickly go through the packet that I have provided and then answer any questions you have. And although we may be revisiting some history, I think it's important that you continually stay up to speed on how this process is working. So I do want to update you on the stage 2. There is no action item associated with this presentation this evening. Just wanting to keep you informed, let you know how the community engagement activity went. A number of you participated. That was greatly appreciated. Thank you. And present for the first time some of the proposed scope of work projects that we would like to consider in our 10-year plan. So I want to quickly update you on the process and remind you that this is required for housing aid reimbursement. So the package that we will be submitting in February will identify scopes of work with associated cost estimates for review by the school building authority for reimbursement. This proposed submission does not commit the town or the school to any type of bonding. There is an expectation that over 5 years you would do at least about half of what you're seeking approval for, and we'll go into that a little bit more. We do encourage you to go after any incentives. They may be extended, for example, that would build upon your 35% reimbursement. So we certainly want to continue through the process through our submission. Reminding you that stage 1 that we submitted identified the need. That stage 1 has been approved by Rhode, and right now we're in stage 2, which identifies those projects which are the solutions to the needs that we identified. And we will be making that submission on February 15th of 2022. Prior to that submission, we would seek municipal approval to make that submission. The tasks that we have completed to date, the facility condition assessment, interviews with the administration, educator workshops, the data gathering, and the community engagement activities. Stage 1 submission has been approved. Stage 2 is ongoing, and we're going to talk about the projects. If you recall, the last time I was here, we presented a very high-level, large-scale deferred maintenance and capital improvement update. We have been working with the administration and really identifying what the needs are so that we can bring to you a responsible package, one that balances the scope and the needs of the school with any funding limits and other constraints that there may be. I hope you did enjoy the community engagement activities. It revealed it supported a lot of the decisions that we had started to think about. And at the school building committee, we presented those results, all of the data that we aggregated, and started to use those consistent messages to develop the proposed scope of work. So we identified approximately 14 types of projects. I associate a order of magnitude budget with each one of them on the last page. On the previous pages, there's a very brief description to that particular project. We certainly can go through all of them, or any one in particular that you would want. But maybe if we just went to the last page that identified the order of magnitude budget costs, as well as the projects, I can explain a little bit more. So what we're doing right now is developing a little bit more detail for each one of these types of projects. After the holidays, they will be submitted to an independent cost estimator, and they will assign a cost estimate that would be included in that submission to Rhode. And again, this submission does not commit the school committee or the town council to any action item. What it simply does is allows the state to say, okay, yes, we believe Little Compton probably does need these projects, and we will support your reimbursement if you elect to move them forward. And then, as I said, there is an expectation that you're due about half of what you submit, because they are budgeting your reimbursement, and it would be unfair to budget reimbursement for this community if they're not going to do it, but another community is going to do it. So the school building authority will be coming to a school building committee meeting. They will be touring the school. They already have seen the stage 1, and then they will review the stage 2. So I want you to know that these numbers are just order of magnitude budgets right now. The cost estimator will have more detail provided by us over the next several weeks to define a better cost estimate, and that will be put together in a little package that is recommended by the school building committee, approved by the school committee, approved by the town council, and then submitted. They will review it, they may ask questions, and then they will respond back with, yes, we will reimburse the base rate plus any incentives, and there's an expectation over the next 5 years you're doing about half the work. So it gives a lot of flexibility to the school committee in terms of how they use their budget, flexibility to the town council on any additional fundings, if any. There may not be any, and that's the process.
Great.
I got
Thank you,
a couple
Phil.
of questions on it. I see deferred maintenance 10-year needs, and I haven't figured out what that amount is, but I also see capital improvement 10-year needs. It comes out to $4,600,000. Now, how does that equate into $4,941,000? Is that an extra
Sure, that's a
Or-
great question.
Or does that come into that play? Because there's some, you know, at the meeting Bob and I attended at the school committee meeting, I said, you know, you can't come in front of the townspeople again and ask for another 12 million when we owe 8.5 million on the last school project on the bond, and think that they're gonna approve it, because I don't think they will. And I asked you to whittle it down, and when I looked at the last page, when it was 4,941,000, I said, well, is that what they whittled it down to, or is it still up around $9 or $10 million?
So that's a great question, and this graphic that you're looking at, the
Yeah.
one that you reference,
Yes.
is two pieces: deferred maintenance and capital improvements. And this was our initial response to both the condition of the facilities and our educator engagement process, where we did not put any constraints on anyone.
Right.
We wanted to hear everything.
Okay.
All right, we wanted to hear it all. And then I came here and I presented this.
Right.
And I clearly heard you and understood that this was not going to be the final plan.
Okay.
This is the highest level. So through further interviews, through the engagement process, we started to focus down on these 14 specific projects. So I would like you to focus your attention on that 14, on the final sheet, because the
Okay.
final sheet is what we are looking to propose at this time.
Okay, so that would be the 4,941,000. This has been whittled down to that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's much more palatable, I think, to myself. I know to myself, but to the town. And I had talked to one of the school committee members about the connector road in front of the original building. I'm not sure what that is, but I went to school back there in 1960 through 8th grade, and those trees and the grassy area in front of the school add character to that school. I certainly wouldn't want those to be removed and put a road in front of the school, and I think that would just make it more dangerous for the sidewalk that's right in front of the school. So I'm not sure what the plan is on that, but if those trees gotta go and the grassy area in front of the school has to go, I wouldn't be in favor of that. And it's my feeling that when you come in the way the driveway is now, you have to slow down going around that corner, and there's generally buses in there, which slows you down. Well, my fear is if you have a road going in front of the school, there's nobody in front of the cars going to go in. Are they going to come flying down that road, jam their brakes on in front of the school to drop their children off? So and I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer. I'm sure some people say, oh no, that's not how it's going to work. But I think when cars come in and they got to make that sharp corner, they have to slow down. Plus you have a cop there. So I'd like to have some kind of drawing exactly what you mean by connect the road in front of the original building at the next phase. So exactly what the layout's going to be and how things are going to go.
We are currently producing documents to support all of these, and it would absolutely be prudent to share them with public safety, to certainly share them with this group, so that you could see what we're sort of trending towards and make any decisions, deletions, revisions, etc.
Yeah, just so we have a site plan to see exactly what your traffic pattern's gonna look like, or what the proposed traffic pattern's gonna look like. Because there's still a lot of people that live in this town that are used to school, looking at the school the way it is. And I think every tree that gets taken down around this commons area is a loss to the commons area.
Noted.
From the conversations that I've had with different folks about this, would it be fair to say that this is to some extent, the equivalent of the town's capital plan, in that it looks out a number of years, in this case 5 years, and says, we think we're going to need about $5 million to do this group of capital projects. And we think that, was that a different sign?
10
10
years.
10 years, oh, sorry. All right, 10 years. And the numbers that we see here are the 2021 estimates without,
Escalation?
without a lot of escalation, but also without a lot of detail at this point. These are rough order of magnitude numbers in order to set up for what we hope to be the reimbursement we get. And it's also set up for what the borrowing we need to do, or set up for the capital investment we need to make. So we're at an early point in the process, it seems to me, saying, here's the set of numbers, and it is subject to responses from individuals that say, well, I hope that this connector road is this, or I hope that the stage curtain makes use of this, or why is the gym floor going to be so expensive? Whatever conversation might occur. But we're not, I don't think, to your point, being asked to, so do you think this is a good number for the future? We don't know that yet. I mean, we don't have it refined yet. We think these are reasonable estimates. Is that where we are? Okay.
If I may, sir?
Sure.
The ride reimbursement, the 35%, is that gonna be conditional upon them approving each one of these things? Or is that just, if they approve it, they approve the whole package, it's 35% or whatever number I'm using 1 through 14 here.
Correct. We are giving a package saying this is our plan. Your base reimbursement rate is 5%. There are incentives that we would encourage you to pursue, which would increase that. But you will get from RIDE, because this is just a one school district, you'll get a memorandum of understanding that'll have the name of the school, and it'll have whatever dollar amount is put on there, and whatever projects you're doing, as long as you're underneath that total number, right? Let's just say that number is 4.9 million. If you do a project for $500,000 and you submit it, you get 35% reimbursement on that. You do 3 or 4 projects and group them together and it's $2 million and you submit that and you'll get 35% on that.
So how is the priority of the list determined? Is there any way to determine a priority? Like, say the school committee says we need to get this done. Is RIDE gonna say, no, you can't do that one first, you gotta do this one
No,
first?
no,
That doesn't happen?
no, as long as it's included on the list. And for example, we strategically put in number 14. Number 14 gives the school committee some flexibility in case something were to happen. It's a little open-ended there. So, for example, let's say we submitted this and the school committee decided instead to put an addition on, right? That is not reimbursable. That was not part of the plan. That's not acceptable.
But there's no,
There is no prioritization police from RIDE on this.
on this at all? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, I'm good.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to say that I'm very pleased with this last page proposal. I hope it comes in as something like that. I think after you take the 35% out of it, it's gonna come down to around a little over 3 million if I'm correct, and I hope I am. And if that's split up over 10 years, obviously some things need to be done a little quicker than other things. I hope the priority is that way. Then that would be much more sellable to the people of Little Compton to approve it, a bond issue.
This list does not represent any prioritization. Just, okay.
So what do you need from us? Accept and place on file? Is that, you don't need an endorsement?
Motion to place the Little Compton School Department necessity of school construction, RIDE Stage 2, Town Council update on file.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mataronis, second by McHugh. Any further discussion? All
Thank you very much.
in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. The next item of business is a proposal to extend for the 16th time the Special Directive 5.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any
So
dis-
we are in discussion with this?
Yes, go
Yeah,
right
so,
ahead.
and I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
And, I don't think I'm gonna vote for it because, I respect, everyone's opinion here. Gary, and, Paul, myself, Andrew. And I think we're far enough in this COVID emergency, 18, 19, 21, how long it's been. And we have the opportunity to call an emergency meeting quite quickly. And I think people voted for 5 people to make decisions, and I respect your decisions, obviously, but I think we're far along enough where I don't think we need this anymore, and I think the 5 of us are well along enough to make decisions moving forward.
Here is why I believe we should continue it. The governor continues to be in this role, and the expectation is that the cities and towns of Rhode Island will likewise be in the same state of, quote, emergency. I would agree with you entirely that the emergency is not pressing, and I exercise this, each time that I exercise this, which I haven't done in months, I will tell you why I needed to do it. But I don't envision the need for it. The absence of it, though, would make us one of only, we would stand alone. All 39 cities and towns are under this kind of rubric.
But I was gonna reiterate what Bob said, that he hasn't really used this, because only when he does, we'll know about it, and then it'll come to the next town council meeting for ratification by the full council. I think Bob's gonna go off left wing on us and do something that's gonna be detrimental to the town, so I'm gonna support it.
I'll convey the concerns, because I don't believe it has the same level of necessity it once did. But again, we would not be, I'm concerned that we would not be eligible for some form of disbursement were we not to be under it.
I think one other conclusion I may draw is that if people don't get vaccinated, this COVID new Delta variant is gonna come back this winter. And I think we're gonna need this to be in place in the winter. I hope I'm very, very wrong on that, but.
I'll reiterate that. I think from what I've read and heard recently, there is fear that
It's gonna come back heavy.
the winter months are gonna
Right.
bring
Okay.
another wave, so I do support this.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the vote is 4-1. Thank you. Next is a report from the town administrator regarding use of the community center for senior meals. The report is in your package. Administrator, do you have anything to add?
No, I really don't have anything else at this point. I attempted to reach out, or not attempt, I did reach out to a couple other people so I could have some additional information, specifically Sue Sisson, the director of community of social service, and unfortunately, I don't have anything else besides what's there.
Can I read this, or Tony, you can read it so the general public knows what the outcome of this meeting was, because a lot of them aren't going to have knowledge of this. If you want to read it, I can read it. Okay, the town council president and the town administrator met with Bill Thoreau, member of the Community Center Board, to discuss senior service. The outcome of the meeting: the community center will continue to prepare meals for the seniors. The community center will continue to deliver meals as necessary. The community center will continue to assess as to how they may be able to accommodate serving seniors indoors. So was the outcome of the meeting, so the seniors know what's going on down there. Thank you.
Great.
Motion to place on file.
Second.
Discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is a recommendation from the police chief to hire a part-time dispatcher, Ms. Rochelle Raposa. Rachel Raposa.
Motion to approve the request from the chief of police.
Second.
Any discussion? Chief, do you have any comment?
No comment, I just, her qualifications are.
substantial.
Yeah. I think she'll be a good addition from what you wrote.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. The next is a item of old business, update and discussion of tennis court repairs and reconstruction consideration, DEM grant opportunity, and consider hiring Marjorie O'Toole as grant writer. Counselor McHugh.
Yeah, it's very exciting that we have a chance to vie for some money for our tennis court and the lighting. And I highly recommend Marjorie O'Toole to write the grant. She was successful in the grant that we won some years ago for the soccer field, the walking path, and the tennis court. So I would like to make a motion to hire Marjorie O'Toole as our grant writer for this round of grants, not to exceed $1,200.
Second.
Motion made by McHugh, second by Mataronis. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. New business, proposal to revise the dates for council meetings in this month, next year, to the 3rd and 17th, due to the same reason from this year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Are you good, Andrew? All in favor?
Aye.
A request from the planning board for the town to consider creating a database for private wells and septic systems.
You know, I don't want to steal all the time the town council has, but first of all, I'd like to know where the planning board is going to be getting the gathering information from. Is it going to be coming from building permits that, or septic system permits? Their job is to safeguard or be the chaperones or caretakers of the comp plan. So we have some people in this town that seem to think it's their business to know everybody else's business, okay? And this is starting to get that way to me. If it's something down in the building official's office and they can glean the information from there, I don't have a problem with that. But I don't want this to lead by, okay, now we've got all the new wells, now we want all the old wells, now we want to know where everybody's septic system is, who's going to do that, and is it going to be a trespass situation when they're doing it? I think there's enough big brother from the state government coming down on Little Compton without us going into people's yards and saying, well, let me see where your well is. And then I think we want to test it to make sure it's good for all the wells around us. I think that's an invasion of people's privacy, so I'm not very much in favor of it. I am in favor of him going down to see the building official. Okay, DM approved this well, put it in the database. Okay, DM approved this septic system, put that in the database. But I don't want to see this coming back and saying, okay, now we want to know how many old igloos are in town. We have a situation for that, where if you put a new house in, generally you're required to put a new septic system in. I think that's satisfactory. They'll get that knowledge when that happens. And then the next one, additionally, to the extent possible, gather the same information associated with recent building. I mean, I don't think it's their job to say, well, we're the planning board, so we want to know what's going on before this guy even starts building. Because that gets into a little bit of a problem where if some neighbor doesn't want somebody to build a house, the planning board knows about that before it's even heard. So, and I might be taking this too far, but as I said, I don't think Little Compton government needs to be in the backyards of the citizens of this town.
Part of what I've got to, I kind of agree with Gary on the, if it's public record, why not? You know,
Right.
I don't have a problem with it. But one of the reasons I participated in the well water study, when my two wells was the assurance that it wasn't going to turn into a database where everybody could check everything and come back on my property and stuff like that. And I'm sure a lot of people who committed to do it had the same thought. That was one of the assurance they gave us when they were doing the test. And this, I don't think this is I don't know if this is the private wells part is kicked in because of the well water testing, or they're two separate entities.
No, if I might, I had anticipated a member of the planning board would be here to clarify this, but I believe I can speak on their behalf. if we adopt what they explicitly wrote, here's what I think the intention is. Suggest the establishment of a tracking database for all new wells drilled and septic systems installed. That would constrain data mining of everybody else's wells.
I understand that,
That's-
but a lot of times this leads to, okay, this is where we're starting, but this is where we're gonna end up.
I'm gonna suggest that the motion include that constraint. Because additionally, to the extent possible, gather the same information associated with recent building. To your point, it's not the intention of the planning board to say, let me see what you're going to do, but rather the data that we have from recent building that's occurred, we go and say, where did the well end up? It ended up there. All right, put that in the database. Where did the septic system get installed? There. Put that in the database. So I believe it conforms with what you're saying. It is from a review of records. And if you wish, we ought to constrain the motion to say that those two steps are allowed or concurred in, or however you might want to phrase it. Because it is not their intention in an effort to this is an effort to satisfy one of our comp plan goals. And if we don't satisfy the comp plan goals that are near term, we're vulnerable when we have our comp plan reviewed to be told, you need to go back and do this before we're going to approve your new comp plan. So we're trying to be compliant with what we said we're going to do. And your points are very well made, and I couldn't agree more that this should not then turn into open season on poking around in everything and everywhere that one might wish to go. That is not the intention of this.
I hear your point, Gary, and I think I don't read this motion, I think, in that light. I get where you're coming from, though. I do think that, clean water is a finite resource, and I think that we should be doing all that we can to make sure it's going to be available in the future. I think we take for granted that you can just turn a knob and you get fresh water out that you can drink. And, I think we should use what tools we have within reason to protect our watersheds and protect our aquifers. So I'm in favor of.
All right, now
these
here's the
steps.
rub. If we approve this, who's doing it?
Yeah, I had that written down, who's gonna
do it? I'm not looking around this table.
Well, the
expecting
planning
somebody-
board's idea.
None of us are gonna do it. If they wanted it approved, it's their motion, somebody from them is gonna have to
Yeah, the
do it.
planning board
Somebody-
wants
I
it,
mean,
let's-
it's gonna be in their database.
Then I recommend that the motion include that.
Okay, I'll
Do you
move.
want to craft a motion? You want me to craft a motion?
Well, we could borrow their motion, I think. You are granted authority to establish a tracking database for all new wells drilled and septic systems installed. Additionally, to the extent possible, to gather the same information associated with any recent building. And
From
inform-
records on file.
From records on file. And you are requested to inform the council to whom this responsibility is assigned.
I'll second it. Did you get all that, Heather?
She's got it. Well, she will here shortly.
She'll have to watch the meeting.
It's right on there, just adding a couple of words at the end.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
It's right, he's got it written right there.
What was that?
What did I say, associated with recent building, and you added?
From records on file.
Records on file.
From
and who's
from
going
available
to,
records on file.
Who's going to administrate the duties of doing it? I seconded it. I seconded it.
Yeah.
Bob made the motion, I seconded it.
It's a Mush and McHugh.
Thank you for listening to my
All in
concerns.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item of business is a verbal report from Councilor Moore on the status of the Housing Trust.
I requested to Carol just to put this on the agenda because you'll see in the bills, there's there was a bill from Housing Works that was gonna come out of the Housing Trust funds. Probably the first time in a while we've had any bills for the Housing Trust. I gave a brief presentation earlier this year regarding a study that the Housing Trust was gonna do, and we're on to the second step. The first step, which has already been completed, was identifying key informants in town and stakeholders that might give insight to affordable housing and the housing stock that exists in town. And Housing Works conducted those interviews and got a good overview from those key informants as to their viewpoints. The next step is a townwide survey. The survey was put together by the Housing Trust. The questions of the survey were put together by the Housing Trust, and it's gonna be launched in the coming weeks. We're gonna send out a townwide mailing with a QR code that would link to an online form. And we're also going to have paper forms available for those that might not have access to a computer. We're gonna have an announcement in the paper, and there's gonna be social media and email to reach out to citizens in town to ask them to participate in this survey. And it's mainly targeting people who live in Little Compton currently or work in Little Compton. The goal is just to get a broad overview of what the housing stock looks like right now in Little Compton, and give us some data as to our needs here in town. So using that survey, using the interviews from earlier this year, and also using the recent census data and the housing fact book, Housing Works is going to come back to the Housing Trust with an overview of the housing stock and ways that we might be able to meet our affordable housing goals in Little Compton. So I just wanted to give you that quick overview of what's been going on and what we're looking forward to doing in the coming months.
Did you say the timetable, and I wasn't hearing it? This survey is going to be over the next few months?
Yes, so.
No, I made it.
At this
printed a
point, the
copy of
Housing
it.
Trust
Why you want to-
purposely hasn't put a deadline on it. I think at our next meeting, we're gonna put a deadline on when we're gonna ask for submissions. But at our last meeting, we just accepted the format of the townwide survey and the questions on it. We're also gonna be using, we're gonna have a Housing Trust website where people will be able to go to. It's gonna be part of the town website. So we don't have a deadline yet, but I can let you know once we
No,
have that
just-
deadline.
Good. Any questions on that? Thanks.
Thank you.
That's helpful. The next item of new business is a letter from Chief Raines advising the council
No, we
of
don't
upcoming
need to vote on
safety improvements around West Main Road and Townway proposed by the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. Basically, this is the area of West Main Road in which there have been the preponderance of accidents in the town's history, I would say.
Yeah, I would, I just spoke about this. This is where, correct, you're going out of town where the triangle is by Seaspray Way and whatnot. And he said there has been a couple of accidents up there, so I think you just want us, is there any action on this you want?
No, I just wanted to make people aware that there'll be some additional signage.
Right.
However, we're not creating a visual nuisance, but
Okay.
there are some new signs, reflective signs that need to be installed to upgrade the safety of the turn. For those who aren't familiar with that curve, it comes up on you quick.
Yeah.
And we've had 2 rollover accidents into that set of bushes there.
Wow.
I'm just afraid if the bushes weren't there, it's going to end up in someone's living room eventually. So DOT was very helpful in assessing it quickly, and they'll be in the upcoming month or so trimming some trees, adding some reflective things to the guardrails, as well as some new chevron signs and additional speed limit signs, just to reinforce the 40-mile-an-hour zone.
No rumble strips, right?
None that I'm aware of. They had also mentioned streetlights, and I kind of had to back off on that as well.
No flashing yellow lights or
There'll be
anything
no,
like that,
it will
okay.
not be the Vegas Strip.
Is there a motion to place this report on file?
So moved.
Second. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Memorandum from the administrator regarding acquisition of a public safety boat.
I'll speak on that. The boat that, no, you're over there giggling, I losing my train of thought now. We've never really had a harbor master boat down there. We had a police fire boat that was more or less a speedboat that we got from drug forfeiture. Before that, we had a Boston whaler. And I think anybody that knows anything about boats, I think the Boston whaler was a 17, 18 footer. They're not really a reliable boat to take to rescue people out. You know, there's 2 or 3 people in the water to bring them on board. So in the last year, the harbor master, the fire department, and I and the assistant harbor master worked to combine the 2 boats that each one of us had and utilize just one boat, which was the harbor master boat that was procured by donations back probably 10 or 12 years ago, which is I believe a 19 or 21 foot inflatable. That boat has grown too small now for the amount of activity at Secaunet, and when you take the harbor master and 2 safety people or 2 rescue people out to rescue somebody, you're gonna have likely 5 or 6 people in that little inflatable. So we decided to, basically the chief decided to look up what size boat with the assistant harbor master and harbor master that they needed. They came up with a 25-foot inflatable with I believe a 250 horse Yamaha that's going to be brand new. The approximate cost is going to be $125,000 with annual payments of $20,000, which $10,000 is going to come out of the harbor management fund, and $10,000 is going to come out of the ambulance reimbursement fund. So it's not going to cost any money to the general tax base. It's not going to increase it. So I think it's time that we got something that both can use. When we had 2 boats, we did have an agreement with the Secaunet Point Marina to keep the harbor master boat inside the marina, but the rescue boat had to be kept at a private dock at a cost of $3,000 a year. That has since gone away, so I would very much look favorable on this and would request that the town council approve this, and I or the fire chief can answer any questions you may have on it.
It's gonna be moored at the fuel dock where it used to, where the other one was?
It's going to be inside the marina, so that, and they're very accommodating. The marina steward down there is Chris Brady from town. He's been very accommodating, helping these guys get off the marina, get out to do rescues. It's become a much safer situation. You know, years ago, we used to keep the police boat over in the station over there, and we had to trailer it down, which put another 20 minutes onto the rescue. Now they just go down there, they'll call Chris will have the boat ready, and they'll just go right out. So it's time we got get the people that are trying to save lives what they really need down there. So like I say, it's jointly used now. Instead of 2 boats, it'll be one good boat. It's going to be a new boat, and out of the $125,000, we're not sure whether we're going to sell the old boat or use it for trade-in. We want to try to get the most money, so that likely is going to come down to $100,000, and it would be over 5 years that this will be paid for. And we are going to, the last payment on the final tanker payment will be made in June of 2022, so that payment will be going away, and the first payment on this won't be till December of 2022. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory in the letter, and I would appreciate the council approving this.
Gary, would this be a good project to liquidate the drug forfeiture fund? Is there anything left in there? Is there like 4,000 or something in there?
Generally, I don't think it can. The drug forfeiture funds, I don't believe it's supposed to be used for something like that. I think I prefer the drug forfeiture funds under the discretion of the chief of police. We do have the funding. We take in about $20,000 a year for mooring fees. So the mooring fees, because that's a federal navigation area, all the money we take in from mooring fees has to be used on something that's utilized in the harbor, so.
And the drug forfeiture account is in the form, and the police chief is very modestly taking from it in order to spend it down.
It's gonna be a chance to liquidate it.
I don't think it falls, the use of
No.
forfeiture falls under the vote.
So, I mean, Andrew might have some comments. He's a regular user of the harbor, and he sees that it's really, the activity down there has really grown in the last 4 or 5 years. So I think he's aware that we need something to support the harbor master and to support our rescue crews, that they can go out in something that's safe and rescue anybody that needs help.
Yeah, I think that absolutely makes sense. I mean, we've addressed issues down at Secana Point more frequently with the increased use of the new boat ramp down there. So I think this totally makes sense to make sure that our team is safe when they have to go out there.
So
I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion to approve this.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Super.
Good luck, Chief.
Sitting as the Board of License Commissioners, the transfer of Gleason's Wine and Spirits to Meeting House Spirits has been once again delayed by the lack of closure on the sale of the property. I would propose that we extend to the end of December. Let's see what we have. The second of two, delay the transfer of the license, authorization for the transfer license. I would make the following motion. The transfer of the license for those two, between those two entities, is extended to the 31st of December. Go ahead.
I'll second that motion, but I'd like to make a comment before we vote on it.
Okay. Let me say that we expect the sale to occur, and both entities have licensed themselves for both periods. So we are not in any danger of there being some lapse or intervention. Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say that there was a motion to second, and that was all close.
Yeah. All right.
I did talk to Bill Gleason today to find out what was going on. He said he did put a application in just in case something went wrong. That did be an application in from him because he's concerned about losing his license, which I don't think anybody wants to see the package store lose its license. He also said that he got news today that the SBA's, I guess, approved whatever loan amount that this gentleman is seeking. So Bill said he's hoping to close within the first couple of weeks of December. So hopefully that'll come to fruition and we can issue a license for the building, so. Yeah, he made,
I made the motion. Did that take the vote?
No.
and
Oh,
I second,
I'm sorry.
no, you didn't take it.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah, you made the
Any further
motion for the
discussion?
continuance, let's go.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The next item of business is communication request from Walker's Roadside Stand to renew its holiday sales license.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
An email from Will Canane, writing on behalf of the Canane Brothers Motion Picture and Television Studio, confirming their intention to film in Little Compton in 2022.
Motion to place on file.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
An email from the co-presidents and the vice president of Love Wins seeking permission to hold an event on June 4th, 2022, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., north side of the Commons, with food trucks, Veterans Field for backup parking, and additionally permission to have the pride flag be flown for the day.
Motion,
Can I just comment quickly? I spoke with Ms. Gonzalez, who's here, on behalf of the organization, and I noted that at the meeting in June, when we last voted to fly pride flag, the motion said that we wouldn't fly any other flags until we had a policy on the books. So they were expecting that we would not authorize that part of it at this meeting. So just wanted to say
I was actually gonna say, approve it conditional upon if there's a flag policy or not.
Okay.
Yeah, let me give you just a bit more detail. I fully agree with what you just said, and I appreciate that fact. Closing the street on the north side of the Commons will need to be coordinated with the police chief. But I'm just laying out the specifics of what needs to happen. So I'm sure that has happened. Food trucks, we can allow them to park and serve food. That must be licensed in accordance with Chapter 6 of our ordinance.
There is a limited
Yeah.
number of those
Yep.
trucks. If there's two out, I think there's 5 licenses, so if there's 2 already out there, you can have 3, so you might want to stay on top of that, okay?
The flag policy we've already discussed, and the use of Veterans Field for backup parking is not a problem in my estimation. So I would entertain a motion that approves this request, subject to conformance with licensing as described in Chapter 6, and the flag policy once established in Chapter 11.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Andrew, you can second that.
Megan, any on that? No, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Now, I think you're not quite next. A request from Warrens Point Beach Club to renew its holiday sales and victualling licenses for premises on Atlantic Avenue.
Motion to
Right.
approve.
Second.
Discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
And then an email from Megan Gonzalez seeking permission for Love Wins LC to use 32 Commons, that's the former police station, basement portion of the Grange, for youth programming for after-school periods of time. The clerk did inform Mrs. Gonzalez that a few groups do have the hall reserved at this time, leaving a limited window of opportunity. So I think what I would propose is that we authorize Love Wins to use the building, if that's your wish, and to do so in conjunction with the sign-up process that we have established.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, I move to authorize it contingent upon, subject to
Availability.
conflicts and,
Right. Particularly in light of the fact that we are looking at solutions for senior lunches, that, I'm not sure that time conflicts with what you have in mind, but the noontime gathering might be happening there, so that might take, and then you have LC makers and other people that are in.
that could mix oil and water, mixing the seniors with the kids. They're awful noisy.
So is your motion, Paul?
Yeah.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And the assessor is still here. She waited the entire time to have her
Well,
abatement list.
I was going to discuss this, but seeing as the assessor spent all evening with us, I'll allow her to do so.
So, here before you, for one particular property that was a little minor subdivision, and the wetlands were not flagged when the plan was received, there was no wetlands flagged, and most of the property is in wetlands, so I granted them relief on that. They did supply me a report from National Resource Services, and it clearly shows all the wetlands.
Motion to approve the abated tax amount as requested by the tax assessor.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to place a consent calendar on file, and if anybody wants to discuss it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The payment of bills.
Motion to pay the bills is written.
Second?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that the emergency authorization?
I'm not obligated to seek a motion for adjournment.
Good night, Chase. Good night.